ups and downs. You always been around. Is it gonna end like this? Not sure if this is something I'd get past. Funny how forever doesn't last. You made mistakes, I made some too. Can't put it all on you. Who knew love could hurt like this? It'd be easy for me to just walk away, but I remember all the promises we made. We said whatever it takes. I promised you, we promised to stay down until all. We said whatever it takes. To love and to hold, to be true. Never put no one. We said whatever it takes. I promised you, we promised to stay down until all. I'll do whatever it takes. To love and to hold, to be true. Never put no one before you. It's been some time now, yeah, I still love you. Do you feel the way I feel? When I'm all alone, you're all that's on my mind. You have my heart after all this time. Can we give the trust back that we lost? Can we just restart back to you and me? See, it'd be easy for me to walk away, but I remember all the promises we made. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes, I'll do whatever it takes. To hold, to be true. Never put no one. We said whatever it takes. I promised you, we promised. Do whatever. To stay down until all this. I'll do whatever it takes. To love and to hold, to be true. Never put no one before you. I never saw this coming. Can we give it one more try? Deep down inside, you'll always be mine. Our love is worth fighting for. I'll do whatever. We promise to stay down until I'll do whatever it takes. To love and to hold, to be true. Oh no, no, before you. Don't you give up on us. Don't give up on love. To stay down until all. I made a
Check 1 2, check 1 2. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy DH in the building. I'm actually not in the building. I'm actually in his building. For sure. I'm at his crib. So we chilling with Mr. Brian Gatewood today. Hopefully you guys are here for an exciting conversation about highs and lows and growth. Really is the word of the day. We're going to go with growth. I met him a while back on an app called Flyclops in the streets doing shows and events. And, we just cross paths a lot. And, to just see how far he's come, I hit him up and I was like, yo, we got to do this. Doing amazing work in the community, working with the kids, working with anything he can do to help the community in any way, shape, or form. He's about that life. And so we had to have him here because that's what we do at Circle Talk is support great people doing great things in the community, man. So I'm excited for this conversation. But first, we want to go ahead and thank our sponsors. First and foremost, iShotcha.com. Thank you so much, Marvin, for continued support. Actually, this man's over here messing with stuff right now in the background. Thank you for continuing to support us and everything that we do. If you guys need anybody to get you guys' pictures done, weddings, birthday parties, senior portraits, if you got any events coming on, need somebody to get you done, he can get you done right. iShotcha.com. Tell him I sent you, and he'll get you a great deal. Second, Icon ENT. Shout out to my guy, Junior Thomas. Thank you for continued support as well. If you are going to any event and need a transportation, some type of transportation where you don't have to drive and you can get turned up, my guy, Junior, is working the business when it comes to the buses.
Yeah, I'm brought to it myself.
Yeah, he's doing it really big. So if you guys want to go in style and have a good time, hit him up. Tell him I sent you, get you a great deal. Last but not least, our good friend Zakia. Thank you so much for continuing to do amazing work in the community. She's turning rags to riches. If you guys don't know much about Zakia and what she's doing, make sure you guys hit up chiafashion.com and check her out. She is a great asset, and I've known her for a very long time. So just let her know that I sent you, and she'll get you a great deal as well. So, but this ain't about us. It's about this man right here.
For sure.
So what's been going on with you, man?
Man, it's been a lot. Running a nonprofit, working for a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Being a father,
yeah,
a brother.
Yeah.
And just a good dude. I'm trying to be a good dude. You guys let me know. Give me some feedback.
Absolutely. But what I wanted to do, man, is first off, just thank you so much for this opportunity. Sure. I know how busy you've been. I see all the events that you guys have been doing throughout the holiday season.
Yeah.
Obviously, we just met up yesterday, and you was doing something else for someone, steady working, and that's what I like to see, from people that have come from a place of, being out in the streets and getting into a little bit here and there and growing and doing positives. And so I'm excited for what you have going on, which we're going to get into, guys. Trust me, we're going to get into it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about where it all started for you, man. Like, where you originally from, your upbringing, all that good stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I'm originally from Seattle, from the South End. That's where
shout out to Seattle.
Yeah, South End in the building. But that's where it all began. Right there off of 38th and Genesee.
Yeah.
My whole family, for you going back years, is from first off in the CD, and then we end up transitioning to the South End. That's a lot of people's journey because CD got a little bit more expensive, so you kind of travel.
Yeah.
But I jumped off the porch early, was out in the streets.
Yeah.
That's a lot of our the trajectory of a lot of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
But made our way to Tacoma.
Yeah, for sure.
Gentrification pushed my mom from Seattle to Tacoma. She couldn't afford it no more with two boys by herself.
Yeah.
And so touchdown in Tacoma. I was 12.
12 years old.
Yeah, ripping and running. And so I was already transitioning from childhood to trying to be grown in the streets.
Yeah.
And so Tacoma kind of wrapped his arms around me and kind of molded me.
So quick question. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
you good.
The dynamics of Seattle to Tacoma. Tell us a little bit about how different it is for you, because I was born in Seattle as well. So, shout out to all my people in Seattle.
Yeah.
How was the dynamics when you came from there to here? Was it still kind of same? A little different?
So, I was a kid. So, it seemed a lot. There's a whole lot of similarities. It still is. A lot of people make it seem like it's two different worlds.
Right.
Man, it's a lot of the same. It's a lot of the same people. It's just there are subtle differences just as far as just like the city life. Because Seattle's just a huge city with a whole lot of moving parts. But it's there are some some differences, but it's the same.
Absolutely,
especially when you're a kid.
For sure. Yeah. Where did you end up going to high school at? I can't.
So I went to Franklin Pierce, but then I ended up getting into a lot of trouble. And so my high school days was locked up.
Okay.
Pretty much all of it. Like ninth grade, I started off going to Spanaway Junior.
Yeah.
And then went to jail, got out when I was my junior year, and then was only out for a little bit. Went to Franklin Pierce.
Yeah.
And then out right back.
Crazy.
So I ended up graduating from Green Hill. I was in Green Hill.
So what'd you learn after going into the getting in trouble and getting locked up? What'd you learn after you got out that kept you from not going back into that lifestyle anymore?
Nothing right away, because I went right back.
Yeah, of course.
As in the juvenile system, like there is no real, even in the adult system, there is no real rehabilitation. It's just you're just away from your people.
Absolutely.
They don't really teach you the necessary skills to stay out, and be productive in those things. So when you're in there, all you're doing is learning new skills and new ways to not get caught this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, as a juvenile, once I, got out of Green Hill, I got out thinking like, okay, now I got the recipe. Now I'm not going to get caught,
Yeah.
And then you get caught,
Absolutely.
And so it took, actually going to the joint. Like, I ended up, once I got out of Green Hill, I was out for maybe 9 months and then caught an adult case. And one thing they don't tell you as a juvenile is like all those different juvenile offenses count towards, your adult.
Yeah.
Your adult points.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking I'm about to get out. I kind of, it was a pistol case. And so I'm like, I'm going to get out because it's my first offender. They was like, nah, you ain't no first time offender. Like,
no,
you know,
you've been here before.
Yeah, you got just haven't been to the adult system. So
right.
you got X amount of points. And so now, you know, I was looking at a whole lot of time because it was like, you know, I had an assault one and a unlawful possession of a firearm.
Yeah.
And so I was looking at a whole lot of time. And so, you know, I got blessed to be able to take a plea bargain for 5 years. And that sounds like a lot, but in comparison to what I was looking at,
yeah,
you know, it's no comparison. And so
absolutely.
After doing that, that's when, you know, things really started changing mentally. You
absolutely.
know, you start learning, like, you know, life is not just about me.
Right.
You know, and then like in the when you know, I was on the, because I ended up being on the run for a second, like for that case, I ended up getting my son's mom, you know, pregnant. And so when I got out, I had a son, you know.
How was that though?
It was you know, man, an experience, you know, because now it's like you got responsibility. And so like I was still mentally, I was still a child, you know, and so like now I am a child with the child. And so you're forced to really grow up and you know, put the big boy shoes on. And like, you know, it definitely, it changed me, you know, it changed me a lot. And it was still a gradual change because I was still, you know, straddling the fence in the streets and trying to be a dad and trying to figure out how to make that work, you know?
Yeah. But, and I know a little bit about the struggle when it comes to, you know, raising a son and being in the streets, because obviously we kind of, you know, ventured around that area for a while. What was the one thing that got you out of that, you know, being on the streets, you know, putting the streets before, you know, what's truly important was being a father? Like, what was the one thing that made you make that transition to taking it serious? Yeah,
for me, it was witnessing the, you know, what happens to other fathers who stayed in the streets and like try to, you know, still be a father. And then you know, you become what, you know, your dad was, you know, and so mine is like, you know, I wanted so much better for my son. I'm like, bro, I can't, you know, it was just like something clicked. I'm like, I can't allow my son to go down these same paths that I went down, you know?
Absolutely.
And so like, it just, you know, and it was like I said, a gradual shift, but then one day it was just like, I can't, you know, like I want so much better for mine, you know?
Absolutely.
And so that's what it was, that, you know, that final straw, like, you know, and then like, you know, I had a great example, you know, a lot of times it wasn't from my dad, but I had a lot of great examples of what fatherhood looks like. And I knew I wasn't doing that, you know? Right. So, you know, it definitely one day I was just like, man, I gotta do better for me and mine.
So I was, you know, I do a lot of scrolling through pictures and, you know, kind of picking stuff for the videos that I put on now for people to see. And I came across a picture of you holding a picture of your dad. Can you tell them a little bit about what that was all about? For those that are watching.
Yeah. So in 2017, I just came from doing an event. You know, I was a promoter for years, but I just came from doing an event. I think it was about 4 a.m. I get a phone call from my cousin, and she told me my dad passed away. And so, you know, you leave the events, you faded. So
for sure.
I'm thinking like I'm hearing this wrong. Like, you know, like what you mean? So hang up, I drive straight to my dad's house. You know, he lived out in Renton. And so like I'm going from Lakewood to Renton. So I get out there, police already outside. Like it just ended up being, man, like that's one of the worst days of my life, you know? But yeah, it was a struggle, man. I get there, like I said, police is there. My great aunt is there. Everybody's crying, you know, like and then, you know, for me to pull up to that situation, it's like, I want to go inside and see what's going on. Cause it wasn't real to me. You know, I'm still feeling like I'm in a dream, man. I'm still, you know, low key drunk. So like, I'm like, I want to go inside and look. And so like, they stopped me at the door. They, you know, asked me who I am. And so then I'm asking them like, what happened? And so they're like, oh, well, you know, he had some, stomach issues. So they think it was like, you know, some gastric something. I forget what the name of it was, but, it was like, he bled out, you know, he had like an gastric episode. He bled out from the inside out. It's just like, damn, like, you know, in that moment, like, you know, you accept that, you know, I'm like, okay. So it's natural causes. It's like, okay, you know, there's, you know, as much grief there is, it's like, you can understand it though. Like, you know, it's just time to go. And so like, I had my moment, you know, and then like, I was like, you know, I still need to go inside, you know? So they let me go inside. And when you get inside, like my guy's laying there in his room and there's blood everywhere, the ceilings, the walls, all over the bed. And so I see that. And the first thing I do is I go back out and I'm like, how was there so much blood everywhere? You know? And so the police tell me that, you know, when you're having that episode, like you're choking on it, so you're spitting it out. And so like I go back in there, kind of look around, it makes no sense though. How much blood is everywhere on the ceilings everywhere. literally made no sense.
Right.
But in that moment, like, you know, I wasn't in a mental space to argue with, you know, that point or with them, because I'm like, okay, these guys, they do this, you know. So, and this is my first time seeing something like this, and so you accept that too. You know, you accept that their word is what it is, and that's what happened. And so they end up leaving. They give me a card for like a cleanup crew, and then like my dad had already had like all of his affairs in order. So like they're like, oh well, we found, you know, he already has like his setup with the morgue and all that. So just call them, they'll come out and get the body. You know, call this cleanup crew so you don't have to do it yourself. And they you know, left.
And they just left.
Yeah, so they just leave. And so I do like what they instructed. Like I call the funeral home, talk to them, set up for them to come get the body. You know, then I call like the cleanup crew, and so like schedule for them to come. And mind you, you know, it's what, like noon. I've been there all morning. So like, you know, just going through so many different emotions, and like, you know, seeing, you know, somebody who I, you know, viewed up here, you know, in that condition, you know. And so you know, first the morgue came. And so like I'm in there, you know, I'm trying to help. So I'm in there and they're like, man, you know, you don't want to see this, like you should go. But I kind of still stayed a little bit and looked. Then when they rolled him over, half my guy's head is gone, you know. And so that's a vision like I'll never be able to you know, get out of my mind. But they take him out. And so, you know, they tell me like, you know, did you got somebody to come and help you clean up? Or and I'm like, yeah, so I got a schedule for them to come. And so a couple hours later, they pull up. Not the whole time I'm just sitting there, you know. So the cleanup crew comes. It was two women and a male. And so, you know, they asked, is it okay if they go in? So I'm like, yeah. So they go in, assess, they come back out and was like, what happened? So I was like, my guy had like some gastric episode. Like, you know, I don't know though, you know. I'm just like, he has something natural causes, you know. And so then they go and call somebody and then come back over and was like, we're going to wait for our supervisor to get here. So we wait maybe 20 minutes. Supervisor shows up, comes, introduces himself, asks, is it okay if he goes in? I'm like, yeah. He goes in, maybe 5 seconds, come back out or whatever, and was like, can you explain to me what happened? And so I'm like, I don't know, bro. I'm like, I can only tell you what they told me. And so I was like, you know, some natural causes, some gastric episode, he spit blood everywhere. That's all I know. And they're like, that is not what happened. Yeah.
Just hearing it, I mean, obviously people that are watching this, it sounds crazy.
Yeah, it was an extremely crazy event, but like he was like, are you in a position, you know, mentally to go back inside? So I'm like, yeah. He's like, I want to show you some things. So then we go back inside, and then like he's showing me, you know, he was like, this is blood splatter. Like this isn't somebody spitting. This is blood splatter. And he was like, you know, I'm sorry to put it like this, but these are skull fragments. And he was like, you see there's hair on it. And so like, you know, that I'm like, I don't know like what to, you know, do with that information. You know, he's like, you have to call the police back.
And then the police left him there.
Yeah, the police
said, hey, you got all the information. We're going to go ahead and leave.
Yes, because like, you know, I guess with the police, like if there's no foul play, like, you know, like you have to, you know, their involvement is done, you know. And so like you have to kind of do whatever to get everything put together or whatever. But so, you know, I called the police back, you know, because they're like, you have to call the police back. We can't touch anything. So call the police back. The same officers who was there that morning come back. And so like, you know, they come back like, what's going on? And so they spoke for me, you know, because like I'm, man, mentally just, I went through so many different emotions, from just like anger and sadness and hurt and just like numbness. Like I couldn't even tell him, you know, anything, you know. So the cleaning crew spoke for me, and they were like, this isn't natural causes. We can't legally touch anything in here. They're like, it is natural causes. So now they're arguing back and forth, you know. And so they were like, well, we can't touch anything. You need to call your supervisor down. And so they ended up calling their supervisor. Supervisor got there maybe 30 minutes later, like walked in for a quick second, looked around. He was like, this is brain matter on the ground. Like this is, you know. And so they ended up, now they locked the scene down. But like, you know, in that process all day, like there have been, you know, different family members came through, you know, you know, I was sitting in my truck for the whole time because I just didn't have the capacity to deal with people. But like it's people going in and out, them, you know, police going in and out, the morgue people going in and out, you know, the cleaner crew walking in and out. So now the entire scene is contaminated. So then they did like a botch investigation, and then came to the conclusion that it was an accidental discharge from a 12 gauge. But then the thing is, the only 12 gauge that was in his house was put up, you know, and there was a spent shell in it. But then like, it's just, that's like what ended up being. So it's like, how does one accidentally shoot themselves and then put the firearm back? And so then like, and from there, it was a cleaning crew who was like, bro, you need to find an attorney. Like you need to find an attorney ASAP. This is crazy. So like I reached out, and that's the one thing that's, man, super hard out here trying to find, representation. And so especially in the condition I was in mentally, I'm just like, I don't even know where to start. I ain't never sued nobody. I've never, had to contact an attorney other than like, court stuff, but like that's a whole different type of attorney, you know? And so it was a struggle. I found this website where you can pretty much just tell the story of what happened, and like it'll spread out to multiple attorneys, and then attorneys will reach out to you. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, so I did that, and then attorney reached out. The very first attorney that reached out, I read like his bio, same birthday as my dad. Wow. And so like in the moment, like I'm like, that's the guy.
It's a sign.
Yeah, and it was not. That dude was terrible.
Bamboozled you.
Man. And like I don't know if like he ended up getting bought off or what it was, because like he had all the confidence in the world, like with the first few times we met. And like he was like, bro, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And so then he gets like Norm Stamper, who was the the chief of Seattle PD. He gets him as an expert witness, and like gets all these different people and then private investigators. He had me feeling confident that we were gonna win,
Yeah.
Then we get to our court proceedings, and like all that confidence went out the window. Like, bro didn't say anything. Like,
changed his whole story.
And then before we went into the court, he was like, no matter what goes on, like, don't say anything. And so we're sitting there and like, and then, Renton, the state or the city of Renton, like they came like the Men in Black. I had 4 people, all black suits, like, fresh, like ready for whatever. And like my guy came with a tweed old school suit, don't fit him, and then literally didn't say anything. Like, just kind of sat there. Even the judge was trying to like, help me out, like, and put like stuff in his play, like, so what did you look at it in this way? And like, and so the judge was like, I have no choice but to throw it out, because like, there's just no, there's nothing that he is really saying for me not to, you know? And then after the fact, I'm like, bro, like either got bought off or just, he was just in over his head or something like that.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of,
yeah, and one of the things he had told me was not to, because I had asked him, I was like, I have some influence in the community from being a promoter and being around, and so like I was like, I could reach out and like get this in the newspaper and get it on the news. And he was telling me no. He was like, you don't want to do that. It'll look a certain way. And so like I, that's my representation. So like I'm following what he's saying. Then after the fact, like everybody I was talking to was like, bro, why don't you just, And I was like, this guy told me not to. And so when I was holding up that page. So I put my story on the internet. I just recorded myself telling the story just like I did, and then tagged like a couple newspapers and news stations, and they all responded, And then I was on the front page of Seattle Times. That was me. That was the picture where I was holding my dad's picture up with the shirt that says "Justice" with a question mark, because it's like, is this actually justice? Because I have no closure. Like I had to like make peace with myself, just knowing that like I exhausted all efforts to try to figure out what's going on. Because like, man, I was doing everything. Like I tried to appeal it myself because I couldn't find a attorney, an appellate attorney. So like I went through all the paperwork myself, and I have no degree, like none of that, no history, any of that. I just researched on the internet, trying to, figured out all the paperwork. Then there was a woman who was on my Facebook who ended up assisting me with like, formatting all the paperwork and everything. Super dope. Wish I could remember her name, but like she assisted a whole lot, and then like told me how to be able to, file the documents and all that. Like had a court date, came there by myself, and I'm talking about they shut me down before I didn't even get a chance to sit down.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And I, but then like I still was like, I was cool with that, like with that, because it's just like I said, like I did everything I could to try to get, some type of justice or something out of that, because like it wasn't like I wasn't suing because I wanted some money. It wasn't monetary at all. Like I just wanted somebody held accountable. Like, there shouldn't be, stuff like that going on, period. Like, like somebody should have to answer for multiple things that happened that day, and then it didn't happen.
Yep.
But like I said, I exhausted all my efforts, did everything I could. And so, like I made peace with it.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Like,
yeah,
that's hard.
No, definitely. It put me in a dark place for a long time. And then like I was, doing nightclub promotions. And so like I kind of hid behind that. Yeah. Because you out, you're supposed to be vibing and enjoying it. And so like I definitely like hid, you know, a dark period, you know, behind that. Like, you know, that was my space where I can go and like, you know, release some of that.
Yeah. And you got to think about it. At least you had a space.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people that, you know, will go through something similar to that and will go straight to lashing out. Yeah. Going after those people by themselves.
I had them thoughts. Yeah. I had them thoughts, man. I had a list. Like I was like, you know, like his, you know, that's man, my pops is my guy. And so like I definitely had a list and I'm putting, you know, names on that list. Like if, you know, they gonna have to go talk to my guy, you know, but again, you know, I'm a father, you know, I got family, I got loved ones, like, and then, you know, my pops would have never wanted me to go out like that.
Yeah,
like, you know,
sure.
Like I'm not going out no blaze of glory, like, you know, trying to shoot, you know, it just didn't make any sense to me. Right. And so all that anger I had to redirect. And then shout out to my homeboys, man, they used to pull up on me and make sure, like, you know, because like I said, I was in a dark place and like people trying to reach out and, you know, connect, and I wasn't responding to nothing. It wasn't, you know, no text back, no callbacks. But, you know, luckily, you know, like I rarely let people know where I live, but like my homeboys did. And so they pulling up, you know, pulling up, just sitting with me. And then like all my partners know my dad. And so we were able to fellowship and like, you know, think about them funny memories. And so like we end up cracking up by the time, you know, because like I said, like I was shutting down, like you know, and I was in a real dark place, but they assisted me with getting out of that. And then, like you said, I had that outlet. I was able to go out and, you know, enjoy like that scenery. So that was my, you know, some therapy within itself.
Absolutely. So let's talk about innovative change makers.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it, how it all came about.
So for years, you know, I had been thinking about, you know, being in a position to give back, but like I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know like what I could do to give back. I didn't know like what, you know, I was good at in that space. And so like, you know, I tried coaching, like we went out and coached and I loved it. You know, we coached like 1st and 2nd grade all through 6th grade. Yeah. And so like, that was like something that was super dope, man. Like, you know, connecting with the kids, like having that influence and like having them just love you back. Yeah. Like, you know, and so like I did that and I was like, man, like I just want to do something like, you know, more like this. And so when COVID hit, you know, the club shut down. And so, you know, that was my bread and butter. That was how I paid my bills. And so I had to find different things to do that. And so I ended up doing armed security. You know, after I got out, that's another part of my story I didn't say. I got out and been out for a while. I've been working security with some cats out there in Olympia who owned a gun store. Okay. And so I forget what birthday it was, maybe like a 25th birthday or something. One of them was like, I'm going to make you a custom AR. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I sparked, you know, I'm not legit at all, you know. And so I thought they knew that. And so he makes it, tells me to come down and pick it up. I come down to pick it up. He slides the paperwork over to me. Like, I'm like, bro, I can't fill that out. You know? I'm like, I thought you was just going. You know who you were talking to. Yeah, I'm like, I thought you was just going to slide it to me, you know. And so he was like, bro, you know, the whole time I thought you was legit. I'm like, hell no, like I just was clutching, you know. I'm like, you know, for my protection, but I'm like, I'm not legit at all. So he was like, you've been out though for a minute. I'm like, I know, but you know, and you know, when you're booked, you got all them penitentiary attorneys telling you like, you know, you'll never be able to have your rights back and all this. So you believe it. So like I was under the impression I'd never be able to have my gun rights back. But he was like, man, call this attorney. He gives me a piece of paper with his name on it. I didn't call that dude for like a year. So he kept asking like, did you call him? Because he got this gun for me. You know? He had it in the shop.
He can't give it to you. You get legit.
I ended up calling it and talking to the dude, and he was like, because he gives you like a free consultation. Yeah. And so he's like, you've been eligible to get your gun rights back for like 2-3 years. Wow. I'm like, damn, I've been this whole time been illegally, you know, doing this. So like, I ended up paying him, like it was like $2,000, paid him. 90 days later, got my pistol license in the mail. You know, I had to go do the fingerprints and all that. Yeah, for sure. But like 90 days later, I got my gun rights back. And so, you know, I had them for the longest, but when COVID hit, like I said, I started transitioning over and started doing armed security, you know, which at the time, everybody's scared, you know, ladies get knocked down for toilet paper. So, you know, they needed armed security everywhere. And so, you know, they're paying good money, $60 up, you know. And so started doing that. And then like, you know, it just, once like that initial scare kind of left, a lot of those places that you're doing armed security at, just kind of lowering the wages. And like, I'm like, you know, I'm not no hired goon anyway. You know, I got more to give than that. And so I ended up seeing, because my brother, he worked for Seattle Urban League. I ended up seeing like a posting, and then he was telling me about it. Like, man, go, check it out. Gave me the information to, what would be my supervisor.
Yeah.
Connected with them. She told me a little bit about what, I would be doing. And I was like, man, that's more along the lines of what I want to do, like with my life. I want to be able to give back. So I ended up working there as an employment coordinator. And so what I was doing was I was assisting people who are coming, who are unhoused, or people coming back from, being incarcerated, finding employment, and then getting them connected with housing.
That's cool.
And so, and like I was super pumped to be in that space and like, love what I did, like I got comfortable in there and like, met some super dope people. And then like, it's still, there still was like a little bit of something inside of me. Like, this is more along the lines, but this ain't exactly like what I want to do.
Right.
And so, thinking and talking and, like I said, having some good people around me. Like, I was like, I want to start working with youth, because like I said, when I was doing the coaching, like that was that feeling, like, being able to do more preventative work, like instead of working with the adults who have gone through it, like, let's try to help navigate these youth from getting there,
Yes. And
so talk with my director, he got me in the schools. And so then that was my vibe. I'm like, this is it, it's what I want to do.
Nice.
And then, like I said, I was still in Seattle at the Urban League in Seattle. But like, I've been in Tacoma, for so long. I'm like, this is home. I always been taught you got to take care of home before you go anywhere else, know? And so there's a lot of youth programs out here, but nothing like what I wanted for my community. And so I was like, one day we were just kind of talking, and then we had a youth group at the Seattle Urban League, and we did this thing. It's called Get It Done, where like, you do short-term and long-term goals. And one of mine, my long-term goal was to create a nonprofit. And so it was like 5 years out or something like that or something. And so, and then like one of the lessons in that, it was like, once you start speaking to people about what you want to do, now those people hold you accountable.
Yep. Every
time you see me, they're going to be like, hey, what's up with that thing that she was telling me about, And so we did that in that class. And then like, a couple of people would ask, and so like, I'm like, man, let me actually look into what it takes to create a nonprofit, know? Then did that. And like, I saw that it was something like that I could obtain right now. I don't got to wait 5 years. Cause it's like, there was nothing that, took 5 years for me to have to do.
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me get on that then. And so me, my son, and a very good friend of mine was here at the house, like brainstorming, like thinking of names. We came up with the name, and I was like, man, I'm a just put my foot on the gas and do this. And so ended up driving to Olympia, expedited all the paperwork, and then like got the nonprofit going. And so then it was just like, now what?
Right.
We were smart. We celebrated, we turned up like, man, we official nonprofit, But then it's like, now what?
Yeah.
And so I had already been working with the Tacoma Urban League. I kind of created a partnership with Seattle and Tacoma Urban Leagues because, we offered it's a huge gap, like a huge void in funding. Like Seattle gets millions of dollars like every year that's supposed to be going towards the Black community, which sometimes never reaches the Black community.
Right.
And then, with gentrification and just how Seattle is evolving, a lot of people who are from Seattle is getting pushed to Tacoma, but the money doesn't follow. It's still all allocated towards King County. And so like my thoughts is like, it should follow, and so like I try to create a partnership, like let's try to offer some of these resources that we have in Seattle to Tacoma. And so I got approved. And so we had been working with Tacoma Urban League, I think for almost a year. I was working out there Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so building relationship though with Tacoma Urban League. Yeah. And so we created a summer program, submitted it, got approved from Tacoma Urban League to run a summer program at a TUL. And it was dope, man. Like we had 17 kids. Like we did all kind of stuff. Like, the biggest thing was taking kids out of what they like, the environment that they know, the inner city, and taking them and doing things that they would never really have the opportunity, and that was huge because, we faced a lot of fears, even mine. Like I almost drowned in Hawaii, man. And I had a fear of water out of nowhere. I used to swim like a fish, and I almost drowned. And then almost drowned, and then like literally felt like I couldn't swim no more. Yeah, and so
that's crazy.
And I had like a phobia of water after that, and so we went kayaking around the sound and like this little stuff like that. Like and I was telling them like, because a lot of them had never done that before, had never been on the water.
Right.
And it's like not a lake. It's vast, amount of water. So so he was looking like, we this small boat, these big boats is driving by.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, man, I'm facing my own fear also. So we gonna do it together,
Yeah.
So we did it, man, had a blast. Like, we all had a whole lot of fun. That was with Tacoma Boat Builder. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
But super dope. We did a whole lot of stuff all throughout the summer. And so then after the summer ended and school started, it's like, now what? And so like all the kids are still reaching out, like the parents still reaching out, like, man, what's going on now?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, man, we gotta push the gas now again, So we created year-long programming. And so wrote that up, submitted our year-long programming, and then ended up getting funded,
That's
so
awesome.
We got funded year-long. And so like, and then our enrollment starts this Friday, next Friday. And so, definitely look out for that. We got 6 different programs, but man, we looking forward to it. And so that's pretty much the story of its inception.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, we created programming around the needs of the youth that we have already been working with.
Mm-hmm.
We asked them like, what are some of the things that you want to, be involved in? Like, and then just even think, my son he's 16 now. So just talking with him, like what's some of the things that, you and your friends would want to do, like that'll teach you, some skills.
Yeah.
And then we try to implement like a bunch of different things into our programming, like financial literacy. Because it's like what, teaching you how to make some money without teaching you how to operate it is, it doesn't coincide. And so we teach financial literacy, trauma informed care. Like, we just try to put these kids in position of empowerment. And that's like, that's everything that we are. We just youth empowerment. And then, one of our biggest things now is like, involve a family in that youth empowerment, because we can empower the youth all day, but they still got to go home, so we want to try to work with their parents and their families, and try to empower them also, And so, but it's been a blessing, man. A lot of these doors that's open, I can't take any credit at all. I give shout out to God. Like that's because like, just even my mental transitions and growth and stuff, like it wasn't anything that like I consciously made a decision, like I'm about to start doing better in life. It's just gradually like, I was forced into them positions and like forced into the, different mindset. Like I said, I give all glory to God, that's who really pushed me into this space.
That's cool, man. So how important is it for you to, see your son out there doing it with you? Not just, because you had the vision, somewhat the vision, and now you have your boy there and he's kind of seeing it all kind of unfold. How important is him to make the choice, his choice, and be a part of it? Is it something that you are seeing him do? Like, be like, yo, Dad, when we gonna go get some more?
Definitely. And like, with that father-son relationship, when you're close, like your child is gonna always want to emulate the things that you do. Yeah. And so, as I progress in all, in the space and do all these different things, he's always right there with me. And so like naturally, like he's gonna want to do those same things. Like he wants to go give back. Like he wants to volunteer when we go and volunteer. Mm-hmm. These are all things like I don't force it at all. That's cool. And like he could stay here and do teenage things, and lay in the bed and play on the phone, making TikToks, but like he'd be out there with us. That's cool. And it's like I said, it's something that it's not by force at all. He actually wants to do that, and like I'm proud of him. Because like cool. When I was his age, I was in the streets wilding, and like I tell him all the time, like 16. You way smarter than me. Because like 16, I was not trying to volunteer. No, you could not find me. And like he's in school. He's faithfully in sports. Like he's getting good grades. Like a great kid.
That's awesome.
And so I definitely I praise him. All the time. Like. Definitely in a way better space than I was at his age,
Yeah. So what's your goal for 2023 in nonprofit? What is your guys' goal?
So our goal this year is pretty much like I've been saying, just put our foot on the gas and like actually make an impact, because it's one thing like, having a nonprofit and getting funding and like doing just programming. Like we want to actually make our program have an actual long lasting impact on the community, change like the mentalities, like change, provide alternatives for these youth. Like that's one thing that we're big on is, providing spaces for them to be them and then have things to do. Cause that was one of the things when I was a kid that left me with so much trouble is just like not feeling like I had anything to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like boredom is literally the breeding grounds for bad decisions.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
You be bored and be like, what can I do? And then it's all the people that being knuckleheads. So of course you're gonna make that transition into doing the same things.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to constantly have things for kids to do that's like fun though. That's what we want to keep fun first. Because like if it's not fun and it's not informative, like kids aren't gonna come back. But they'll show up, but they're not gonna come back. And so we want to definitely, provide spaces where kids can, like I said, like enjoy themselves and learn, and then just, open their expand their horizons to know like what's out there, things they can do, like alternatives to, making money. Because a lot of stuff, it comes down to economics. Like, they're out there selling drugs, they making money. Like I can show you how to make a legit bag.
Yes, absolutely.
And then like you ain't got to worry about all the extras. You can make this legit money. And then, be good, and so that's one of the things that I preach all the time. Like there's always an alternative,
Yeah.
And so, so that's 2023. We putting our foot on the gas, man.
I think, Plummy. I get it wrong every time. I apologize, but she said something to me that it really hit me. She said, we don't want to just, take kids off the streets and teach them these tools to be successful. We want these kids to actually be successful. They want to come back and take your guys' positions and be a part of the program for life.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. Like even with the, people who we bring on right now, like we don't want them to feel like employees. Like, you are the director of your program. Like, you tell me what you're going to do. Like,
absolutely.
And so that's the thing. Like this is for the community. We want like some FUBU, for us, by us.
Yeah.
So like, we create a space for community to come in and, give back how they know they can, So like, like I said, we'll go out and offer somebody. And that's one of the things that's changing right now in the landscape of like nonprofits. Like people are allowing people who actually have been through the mud, like people who are fresh out of jail.
Yeah.
They are the ones who know exactly what got them there.
Right.
So they are the ones who can teach how to not, be in those positions. And so, we want to work with, the people who have been written off, like, those, the kids who have been written off. That's one of the things, like I was written off.
Yeah.
I've been, I don't know how many times people have told me I was going to be dead or in jail forever. Like, and it's like now, look at your boy. And so like, but I don't want people, everybody to try to have like that story. Like, I got written off and so now look at me. I want you to be able to, I try to empower like, man, all actions, they stem from something. So now we try to look at things from a different perspective. Like kids who are acting out, like what's making you act like this, And so, man, we just trying to, like I said, again, I'm gonna keep saying that we putting our foot on the gas. Like we're really trying to change the landscape, change the narrative. Like, we're really working.
So how, I don't mean to interrupt you.
You good, bro.
How can someone that's watching that may want to get involved with you or what you guys have going, how do they get in contact with you? So
you can reach me at Facebook, Brian Gatewood on Facebook. We got innovativechangemakers.com. I'm on Instagram, BGINK, and then we have Innovative Changemakers 22 on Instagram. Man, just reach out. Like I'm
Flyclops, BGINK.
Oh yeah, if you want to get a lesson in these dominoes, man, reach out because I am definitely handing out lessons. Still, I got that app. I don't be on there that much, but I will come out of retirement. I got some time.
Absolutely, man. Like real talk, I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you, man. Like it's been a great conversation. Like. What do you guys got something that they can look forward to coming up?
Yeah, so our next event, we have a MLK event that we're doing. And then that I think that's the 16th, January 16th. We're doing that at Tacoma Urban League. And then we, like I said, our enrollment will be open next Friday. And so that's, like I said, 6 different programs. We have an after school program. We got Innovative Cuts, which is a barbering program. Excuse me, we're doing which we just locked in. We're doing a girls version of that where it's like a braiding class.
Nice.
Man, we got so much going on. We about to start dropping flyers and dropping enrollment links. And so definitely look out, like, innovativechangemakers.com. And then, like I said, I'll be dropping them on my Facebook, Brian Gatewood. And so there's a lot to look forward to this year.
Absolutely. And I'll get you guys any of that information. If anybody does not get in contact with him, I have direct contact with him. I know where he lives at too now. So he's not too
come
far from
man.
his
I
house.
put a real domino zero real quick.
I stayed. We were doing that last night.
I wanted to jump on there, man.
Yeah, I ain't gonna get into it. I don't want to hurt Megan's feelings and that like
that. She was beating.
It was a one hand winner, and then she was done after that.
Sure.
Guys, it's been a great conversation. If anybody has any questions, obviously, let me slide through and make sure I didn't miss anybody's question real quick. Go ahead and drop one if you have any. How do we refer you to your program? I think we might have just answered that part. That one. Let me check and see if there's any other ones. Lynn said Domino World. What's up?
I got a question.
Okay, go ahead. I shot you got a question.
So I hear you talking about how, where you kind of came from and where you are now. But that transition, did you always want to be where you are right now? Did you always think about helping the community? Or is that something that kind of evolved over time that you're like, you know what, I think I may want to do this, or I think I may want to do
that? That was definitely evolution, because it wasn't like, I was full-fledged in the streets at one point. So I wasn't thinking about helping. I was thinking about taking away, And so over the years, definitely just meeting people who are doing this work, and just and then just slowly there's something that builds in you. And then, like I said, what was really big for me was when I was coaching, and then seeing how much of an impact you can have. And you could literally change those youth lives, And I'm you start feeling like, man, if I had a me when I was a kid, man, the difference it could make,
Absolutely.
And so that's what I try to live on is be somebody that I would have, been able to grow with, or grow from.
So it's what you found out was that you could make an impact.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And people can make an impact on children.
Yeah.
And
even adults.
And once you find that out, it's like I can do it myself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nah, that's one thing, because a lot of people don't understand the power that they have.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like it has to be, a million people with the same idea for it to work.
Somebody with some education or something.
Yeah, and I went through that also. That was one of the things I went through working in the Seattle Urban League. Is I had that imposter syndrome, because I don't have that education, or I've never been in those spaces before. And so you sitting in a room with, like now I work with the senator, but before you sit in a room with the senator, and there's the governor there, and all these people with these high level education, and then it's me. And so I'm bro, I got a GED, and so you sitting there, and then man, I went through so many different phases, and dealing with anxiety behind it, but it's you start to realize your power, it doesn't take an education to be able to assist. It doesn't take that.
I can see it, bro. I knew you 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And
it all goes back to that word.
Who I'm looking at right now is somebody different from some I used to talk. Now, the person 10 years ago was a good guy too. I'm not saying that. But I'm sitting here watching you, and this is not who I was talking to 10 years ago.
For sure. Yeah.
It always comes back to the word that I started this whole thing with. It's growth. You gotta grow, and you definitely grow, man. I remember you too. I mean, maybe not in the same aspect as him, but I remember, crossing paths with you plenty of times, and you used to turn up. There was nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that was just a phase in my life, man. But I'm appreciative of all the my entire journey, all the different aspects of it, from the negative to the positive. I appreciate it, because it's all, got me to this point.
Made you who you are today.
Definitely. And I use it all. I use every single, part of my life, all my experiences. I use it all still today.
Beautiful. Guys, amazing conversation with BG in the building. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're going to go ahead and close up shop. Anyone else got a question before we roll?
Nah, man, I appreciate you. You already know, brother.
You know what it is.
Yeah, thank you for coming through.
For life. Yeah. For life. Thank you guys so much. Again, we will be back next week, Mr. Anthony Toomer. Thanks again, man.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
For sure.
Great conversation. We'll talk to you guys real soon. We will be connecting. So if you guys need anything from BG, let me know. And
then one thing I'll add, we volunteer every month. We have a day of service, ICM day of service. So if anybody wants to come volunteer with us, please, come out. We welcome everybody, youth, adults, anybody's welcome. Like we go out, Tacoma Rescue Mission, we down in Seattle, like we're trying to do things and establish a day every single month. We go out and give back. Big time.
All right, you guys, you heard it here first. Well, I'm pretty sure you talked to somebody else.
This is my first interview.
Hey, see, you heard it here first. Let's go, y'all. All right, I'll talk to you guys next week. Y'all be blessed. We'll see you later. Peace.